Basically, we are discussing on the topic that is city creation. City creation. Basically, we are discussing on the topic that is future creation. In this, basically, 1,75,000 basically cities created equal to stories. Stories in this basically the war already started. The problem solving group basically gets activated because war basically will spread basically across the world basically, and this will converts into the and India basically is 100% going to suffer basically one day basically because war basically is going to connect to the whole world basically one day. So even basically one small city basically generates the war basically that is going to connect to the whole world basically one day basically, but that basically when basically that you can't say. So problem solution and problem solution basically these groups are also basically doing the problem solution, that is the peace group and the Bollywood group basically, but they one of the person told, are they a peace group basically God basically? Then one of the person told that no basically they are not God basically. They are basically not God basically. So one of the person told that how basically the peace group basically know the information basically that something basically very dangerous thing is basically happening, and in this basically it might possible that basically more than 100 crore people will die basically. So how they basically tackles that basically because they gets the information basically from the news channel and from the Bollywood group that basically the things basically which is incidents basically is happening the basically in that basically more than 100 crore people will die basically. So how they basically tracks that basically? They will track basically from one of the background history of that particular person basically, and that basically the news channel basically do. In this basically the in peace group basically you can add news channel also group basically. In this basically the news channel also basically tries to solve the problem basically because 100 crore people basically already died, and here the main thing is war is also still ongoing basically. So the war basically is ongoing, and this problem solution basically is not happening basically, that is converting to more war basically. So here basically this converts to the more war basically, that was supposed to solve the problem, but here the solution basically converts into more world war, and then the 100 crore people basically 100 crore that died basically people basically converted into more 100 crore people, so 200 crore people will die basically if the problem basically is not going to solve basically, because 200 crore will be the big amount basically, and that will basically the that basically you have to add into the Bollywood and peace industry basically. Sorry, the Bollywood resume and peace resume basically. Sorry, the peace group and the Shanti group resume that basically 200 crore people basically died due to us basically. And in future basically Bollywood groups and peace group will get end basically. So one of the person told that war basically equal to problem solve basically. War started basically you have to solve the problem, not solve basically again war will start. Then basically this keeps on moving basically, and that basically is going to connect to the blood group basically. That is not new blood group here basically I'm taking as a existing blood group basically. Slowly basically this converts into the blood group chain basically. So one of the person told that blood group equal to education. So it's not necessary that basically education industry is basically everything basically. Education industry is basically one just part basically of the world basically. It's just a part of the world basically. So education industry is not everything basically. Human needs creation basically. So one of the person told that human need creation basically is 1,75,000 cities basically. Then basically that was not possible basically, and this war basically is going to change that human needs basically, or basically it will finish the human needs. One of the person told that basically after World War II basically, which all vegetables got ended? That was actually one question basically. Which all fruits got ended basically? Fruits equal to city creation basically. It is created from set of cities basically, cities energies basically, and how basically one city can create one fruit basically. That we have already taken one topic. Many videos basically are uploaded basically. So you can just imagine basically how dangerous things basically are connected. So Bollywood group basically plays very dangerous role basically. You can say basically it's a very dangerous role basically they play basically. Not basically the small role basically, they are playing very dangerous role basically. Because they basically connects to the, they basically already entered into this 100 crore murder basically. So here basically the Supreme Court and High Court basically they have to do something basically against this Bollywood group basically and the peace group basically. If they are not doing, that means basically the Supreme Court also basically jumped into this 100 crore murder basically. And this was actually murder basically. This was actually murder. This was basically can stop basically, but they have not stopped basically. And in this Bollywood basically equal to India basically. So India is equivalent responsible for the 100 crore murder basically. And this was actually murder basically. So you can take basically as a, and police basically have to register this as a 100 crore murder only basically. Because if one person basically do the murder basically, then basically they basically finish that person only basically. Then basically they basically takes the piece, they basically do some arrest basically. But here basically that's a 100 crore murder basically. So how basically the police is going to react? That also basically very interesting basically. Here basically the police groups are going to have going to handle this situation basically. That is also basically will be very interesting basically. Why? Because 100 crore is already murder basically. Now basically one of the person told that ये police लोगों ने तो murder नहीं किया. That also basically one of the person basically asked the question. Because Bollywood industry basically say that basically we will not allow police industry to enter into, they basically tries to handle the situation basically. If they can't handle, then basically the police group basically comes to the picture basically. So that is basically different story basically. That is totally different thing basically. That is totally different thing basically. So this was about something basically about this. So one of the percent of the world basically is set of stories basically, and universe design basically is set of stories basically. So that is very dangerous basically. That is very dangerous. That is very dangerous. So one of the person told that basically, is it possible that basically universe group basically can create the planet, new planet energy from their stories basically? Then one of the person told that they basically can create basically, but human basically can't create. But in this basically, the people who basically is having the age of 90,000 year old and basically 90,000 year basically I'm telling, it is going to connect to 1 lakh basically, and it has not connected basically, it has not connected to 1 lakh basically, it is going to connect to 1 lakh basically, but it has not connected. That basically has to keep in mind basically. So one of the person told that 90,000 basically year is the Earth planet population or Earth planet groups, one group's age basically, one group's age basically, and that is very dangerous thing basically. So that is basically the thing basically which is ongoing. So one of the person told that Earth planet basically equal to set of stories basically, and stories basically converts into the human needs creation basically. So in next video basically we are going to see a little bit more about this.